on the wall. Felt a small sting of annoyance. Where was the order from the farm? It should have been here well before now. She swallowed down a sigh. The slightest inconvenience could upset the smooth running of service, no matter how well rehearsed the whole show. She'd go in search of the produce herself, speed up the process, she thought, as she left behind the orchestra of cooking noises and stepped out into the blue-skied June day beyond the back entrance of the restaurant. Hesta was hers, and that was both a blessing and a curse. She glanced back at the old stone building, a habit, but not one of the ones she needed to break. She felt first a burst of pride that this bustling place belonged to her, then the familiar afterburn of burden. It was the first property that she'd actually owned, a dream she'd worked towards for her whole career, her own restaurant. But over the years, what had once been a personal goal had morphed into something more, become meaningful in a way she could never have imagined at the start, greater than the sum of its parts. It wasn't about her anymore. That wasn't why she showed up in Chef White's every day, though at the age of 53, she finally felt in the prime of her life. Since Hesta's doors had opened 10 years ago, she'd felt the increase in responsibility weigh heavily like her cotton clothes were made of chainmail. The restaurant's name meant, "Have you?" in Cumbrian dialect, and what had been a quirky nod to the past was now a constant reminder of things she had to do in the present. Right now, that was to go to Fellview Farm and figure out why on earth they'd failed to deliver the dairy goods she needed for the rest of the day not to be a disaster. "Chef," said Sally, the kitchen porter, head bent as she scurried past to go in through the back door, as though she'd half wondered about staying silent to avoid highlighting the fact she was late. But perhaps that was a shadow Anna herself was casting on the situation. "Morning, Sally," she replied with a nod and nothing more, and Sally smiled as she disappeared inside. Anna had learnt not to let the inconsequential things cloud those that were important, to focus on the wood, not just the trees. No one could cook anything in that kitchen without Sally constantly working away, a cornerstone in the entire operation. Anna turned back towards the lane. The farm was on the other side of Buttermere village, but still nearby, barely a 10-minute walk between hedgerows bursting with birdsong. The early summer colours appeared brighter in contrast to the man-made appliances and silvery surfaces of Hesta's back-of-house industrial interior. The natural world enveloped her as she strode towards the farm, and she took a moment to focus on the sights surrounding her, without slowing down. Her tendency to rush about was too deeply ingrained. She looked at the vivid shades of brilliant green as the leaves danced on their branches, like they were waving as she went past, and she breathed the scent of wild garlic blown towards her in a blustery gust of breeze from the grass verges that brimmed with it to either side of her. The last of the ramsons, a lush carpet of long flat leaves, studded with white star-like flowers that was laid down by nature every spring. The unmistakable aroma filled the shady banks and woodlands of her home at this time of year. She didn't need to look down to recognise it, as familiar as her mother's favourite perfume. She twisted her head to gaze at the lake to her left, the landscape claiming her attention as though saving her from herself. The water glinted, celebrating the sunshine, always a gift in this part of the world, never a given. Anna felt the rays warm her face, reminding her how long it had been since she'd spent more than a few minutes outdoors. When was the last time she'd been down to the shore for a swim? She'd been too wrapped up in rotas and reservations and writing the new menu. The farm came into view, but there was no sign of Rose or Will. She usually dealt with the daughter, had always found Will brusque, but perhaps he'd always thought the same about her. She'd already phoned twice to chase up the order, no answer, and had half expected to encounter one of them coming towards her on her way here. She'd been buying milk and butter from them right from the start, and had been loyal ever since. It shouldn't be a surprise.